It was a night I never anticipated, one that would unravel the very fabric of my existence. When my husband insisted I cross that line with his friend, the world shifted beneath my feet, and nothing would ever be the same again. It became a night filled with passion and longing, one that would forever linger in my heart. It all began on what seemed like just another ordinary night, a simple exchange between my husband, James, and me. Yet beneath the surface, an unspoken tension lingered, hinting at something deeper, something we both knew we shouldn't explore. The crackling fire in our living room, typically a source of warmth, now seemed to murmur secrets, echoing the tension that hung heavily in the air between James and me. 15 years had passed, a tapestry woven with shared memories and laughter, yet beneath the surface, a tension simmered, hinting at unspoken desires and the thrill of what could never be. James, my steadfast husband, sat across from me on the sofa, his gaze locked onto the flickering flames, as if he were seeking something elusive hidden within their glow. Even before he opened his lips, a sense of unease washed over me, yet I was unready for the confession that would soon spill from him. He cleared his throat, the sound slicing through the comfortable silence, and said, "Sophia, there's something I've been longing to share with you." I instinctively tensed, bracing for the familiar exchange of mundane topics, bills, work, the endless cycle of our daily existence. But what unfolded was far from ordinary. The fleeting idea that he might finally be ready to escape to Italy danced in my thoughts, only to be pushed away as a mere fantasy, too good to be true. What could it be? I inquired, my voice steady, masking the turmoil within as I fought to maintain my composure. His eyes locked onto mine, a spark igniting in the air between us. The air crackled with a tension that left me breathless. "I want us to explore something unconventional," James said, his voice steady, almost too nonchalant, as if he were merely proposing what we might have for dinner. And the words struck me with a force I couldn't ignore, leaving me gasping, my thoughts racing to comprehend the weight of what had just been revealed, and in that instant, everything shifted. The familiar warmth of our evening was abruptly overshadowed by a heavy, stifling tension that hung in the air. I gazed at him, heart racing, anticipating the twist, the playful grin, the moment he would reveal it was all in jest. Not a soul appeared, and the stillness was overwhelming. His gaze held a weight, a blend of cold intrigue and an unspoken longing that sent shivers down my spine, something that stirred a sense of danger within me. As his gaze met mine, I felt a rush of realization wash over me, unveiling the depths of his difference in a way I had never seen before. "What do you mean?" I finally found the courage to whisper, my voice trembling with unspoken feelings. "What did you just whisper?" James's expression was infuriatingly serene, as if he hadn't just shattered everything we held dear. "I've been thinking about it," he said, his voice low as he leaned back, a hint of something unspoken lingering in the air. "This might be what we need, what you need." In that fleeting instant, words escaped me. This was not the James the first once cherished. My James, always the anchor in my chaotic world, would never dream of proposing something so wildly unconventional. The air crackled with unspoken tension as I struggled to grasp the weight of his confession. "Have you lost your senses?" I finally spoke up. My voice cut through the air, more piercing than I had meant it to be. My heart raced wildly, and warmth surged through me, creeping up my neck like a secret longing. "What is this feeling that has suddenly taken hold of me?" James tilted his head, his gaze piercing through me with a heat that ignited something deep within, leaving me breathless and yearning for more. He confessed, his voice barely above a whisper, that it had been on his mind for some time. "I believe it might create a path for us to explore deeper feelings, transform the situation into something beautiful. Is it improved?" I longed to laugh, yet the sound became trapped in my throat, a bittersweet reminder of what could never be. The man sitting across from me bore a striking resemblance to my husband, yet every aspect of him, his words, his tone, the way he smiled, felt foreign, distorted, as if I were peering into a world where everything was just slightly askew. "This feels so wrong," I exclaimed, rising to my feet in a rush. The unexpected shift left me breathless, yet I craved the distance. "This isn't what couples do. This isn't something you casually propose." "What on earth, James?" He shrugged, a casual dismissal that felt like a veil over something deeper, as if my question had touched on a secret he wasn't ready to share. Some find a way, and it ignites something deep within them. His voice held an unsettling calmness, laced with a hint of something that felt dangerously close to amusement. I'm not suggesting we need to make a choice at this very moment. Just imagine the possibilities. Have you considered it? The sheer boldness of the request sent a shiver through my fingertips. I tightened my fists, battling the whirlwind of emotions within me. What could possibly draw you to this? I insisted, my voice trembling with intensity. What is it that keeps us apart? Are you with me? James's gaze lingered, and for a fleeting instant, he resembled the man I had once dared to love. It's not about anything being amiss, he murmured softly. I can't help but feel that there's a chance for something more, something that could change everything for us. The words weighed heavily in my heart, a burden I couldn't shake off. I averted my gaze, feeling the weight of his words pressing against me, struggling to comprehend the depth of what had just transpired. Unique. Improved. His justifications echoed in my thoughts, becoming increasingly ludicrous with every cycle, igniting a tumult of emotions I dared not confront. This is utterly wild, I finally admitted. My voice trembled with unspoken longing. I can't believe you really think I'd go along with this. Why not take a chance? He retorted, his voice laced with a calm that only deepened the tension between us. Do you really doubt my trust in you? I turned to confront him, a rush of heated emotions surging within me. This goes deeper than trust, James. This is you urging me to shatter all that we've created together, all that we embody. He rose, each step toward me heavy with unspoken tension. I instinctively stepped back, but the couch loomed behind me, halting my escape. He reached for my hand, his touch delicate, carrying an unspoken weight of longing. I never meant to shatter what we have, Sophia. I'm striving to deepen our connection. By inviting me to share my heart with another? I wrenched my hand away from his, my voice trembling with intensity. Can you truly hear the weight of your words? James stood resolute, his heart racing beneath the surface. His expression grew steely, determination settling deep within him. His name's John, he whispered, a hint of longing in his voice. You've encountered him. There's a spark of interest in his eyes. The ground felt unsteady, as if it were shifting under the weight of unspoken desires. Have you really chosen someone already? My voice trembled, a fragile blend of disbelief, revulsion, and an intoxicating thrill that felt both wrong and irresistible. Yet it lingered in the air. He turned towards me, his gaze locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. The gaze was serene, masking a tempest beneath, an unsettling contrast to the chaos that lingered just out of sight. He's a good man, he whispered, as if sharing a secret that shouldn't be spoken aloud. John, you've caught a glimpse of him at my workplace. He mentioned catching a glimpse of you at the gym. I have a feeling you might find him intriguing as well. He has a way of making me feel special. I believe he could be the one for you, he said, his voice laced with an unspoken longing. Then he stepped closer, the air thick with unspoken tension. He's been through so much, and I can't help but believe that if we just give in to this connection, everything could change for the better. His words wrapped around me like a dark embrace, a perverse kind of care that made my heart race. It was as if he truly thought this was what I needed, that his intentions were pure, even as the thrill of danger lingered in the air. That was utterly terrifying, yet I felt an undeniable pull to comprehend it all, so I stayed rooted in place. Not yet. Have you spoken to him? I breathed softly. James nodded, his expression betraying a depth of feeling that lingered just beneath the surface, as if this moment was both inevitable and fraught with unspoken tension. He's coming to dinner tomorrow, and the air is thick with unspoken tension. Did you really invite him? The words erupted in a desperate cry, catching me completely off guard. Text, I wanted to see how you'd respond, he confessed, and now I understand. My gaze locked onto him, each breath a fragile whisper escaping my lips. The man before me wore James's face, yet the warmth and familiarity I once cherished had vanished, leaving only a haunting emptiness in its place. I felt an overwhelming urge to unleash my emotions, to let the tears flow, to escape it all. But all I could do was stand there, paralyzed, as the firelight danced between us, igniting a tension that felt both thrilling and wrong. Tomorrow holds a promise, a whisper of what could be, lingering just out of reach. John was arriving tomorrow, and with him came a rush of feelings that were both thrilling and dangerous. And the reality I once embraced had slipped through my fingers, leaving only shadows behind. What unfolded next was beyond anything I could have ever dreamed. The following day unfolded like a slow, aching sigh, every moment heavy with unspoken longing. I drifted through the familiar rhythm of my day, the soft sound of the knife against the cutting board echoing in the air, each slice a reminder of the unspoken tension that lingered just beneath the surface. Yet my thoughts wandered to a place I knew I shouldn't go. The memory of John hung in the air, unexpected and intense. He had always been a fleeting shadow in my mind, but now he consumed my thoughts, a tantalizing presence I couldn't ignore. The memory of our first encounter at the gym lingered in my mind, a moment charged with unspoken tension. His broad shoulders exuded a quiet strength, and the way he moved through the room made it feel as if the very air shifted to welcome him. His laughter resonated, a rich sound that pierced through the sterile buzz of the machines, stirring something forbidden within her. I hadn't thought anything of it then, but now the memory pulsed with intensity, as if I had brushed against a secret I was never meant to uncover. And then there was the way his gaze had lingered on me, not leering but intentional, as if he was peering beyond the surface. The knife glided off the cutting board, pulling me abruptly from my thoughts. I let out a breath, my head shaking in disbelief. I never imagined I would find myself tangled in such thoughts, especially ones that felt so dangerously alluring. But James's words had cracked open a door I never intended to explore, and now it felt impossible to close it again. As I laid out the dishes, a tumultuous blend of excitement and fear churned within me. The house was enveloped in a heavy silence, each pause between sounds lingering with an unspoken tension. The clock's relentless ticking echoed in my ears, each second drawing me nearer to an encounter that felt both exhilarating and perilous, a moment shrouded in uncertainty. I was lost in a moment, unaware of what lay ahead, yet feeling the undeniable pull of something already unfolding. Despite my efforts to fight the allure, a hidden part of me, the one I dared not confront, yearned to discover the path it might unveil. Then the doorbell rang, its chimes slicing through the heavy stillness of the house, and my heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of anticipation and dread. My hands turned icy, warmth fleeing to my cheeks as the truth enveloped me like a shroud. This was the moment. I had lost my sense of self. I felt like a marionette, strings pulled by unseen hands. I sensed James nearing the door, his footsteps soft and hurried, stirring something deep within me. The way he moved, filled with anticipation, hinted at his desires, and the realization sent a flutter of unease through me. I despised him for it. As he pushed the door open, John's tall silhouette filled the space, and in that instant, my heart raced, leaving me momentarily paralyzed. He had arrived. I stepped into the living room, and there they were, their laughter filling the air, a bittersweet reminder of how deeply I felt the weight of my own solitude. They turned to me, their smiles charged with an intensity that felt almost dangerous, their eyes lingering, probing, as if I were the sole focus of their attention. It was as if they could sense the turmoil within me, the confusion, the dread, and the unspoken desires that threatened to spill over. "Sophia, this is John," James said, his hand gripping my arm, a possessive touch that sent shivers down my spine. It was a silent declaration that I had no say in this, merely a piece in his intricate and dangerous game. "It feels so exhilarating to finally be in your presence." "Sophia," John said, his voice wrapped in warmth, his smile tender, and his eyes held a depth that left me breathless and yearning for more. It was a blend of longing intertwined with a profound, shadowy awareness. "James has shared so much about you," he added, and it felt like a whisper of the secrets that lay ahead. It felt like a cruel twist of fate, a dark jest that left a bitter taste in the air. In response, I whispered, my voice barely escaping my lips, and I swiftly turned toward the kitchen, my sanctuary from the tumultuous reality that surrounded me. Yet, that was futile, for reality always lingered in the shadows, haunting my every step. I began to cook, each routine task unfolding like a bittersweet reminder of what could never be. The anticipation was excruciating, my skin alive with sensation, heart pounding in a chaotic rhythm, caught between trepidation and a longing that dared not speak its name. I craved closure, yet a lingering part of me yearned for something deeper. What was the matter with me? Why was this feeling consuming me? Why couldn't I bring myself to put an end to it? The dinner unfolded like a delicate dance, filled with strained smiles and fleeting glances, as if I were an unwilling actor in a play where the stakes were far too high. I attempted to eat, but the food was like dry sand in my mouth, devoid of taste, stripped of flavor. It was merely an act, a delicate dance of hidden desires. Their eyes were locked onto me, a heat rising within as I felt the weight of their stares, both thrilling and unnerving. I longed for an end to the turmoil, yet the show must go on, no matter the cost. It was my destiny. I had no choice but to embrace it. But then James set down the fork, his gaze locking onto mine, and it felt like the beginning of something we both knew we shouldn't explore. His next words sent a chill through me, leaving me utterly still. "You know what?" James said, his cheerful tone masking something deeper, his voice almost too casual, and I felt my heart skip a beat. I felt the inevitable closing in, a truth I could no longer deny. I was pondering that, after all the food, you both might crave a more intimate setting to share your thoughts. Just take a breath, let go of your worries, and discover the hidden connections that might spark something unexpected between us. I'm feeling utterly drained, and a sweet escape into slumber sounds so tempting right now. I gazed at him, my heart racing with a mix of fear and a flicker of anger simmering beneath the surface. He gazed at me with an air of innocence, yet deep down, I understood he was anything but pure. John's gaze locked onto mine, a silent plea hanging in the air, and in that moment, I understood that there was no turning back. My hand trembled with a sheen of sweat, my cheeks burned with a flush, and my heart raced with an intensity that felt almost wrong. I felt utterly powerless, trapped in a moment that left my heart aching. "It would be wonderful," John replied, a soft smile gracing his lips. His gaze locked onto mine, and I loathed them both. I felt utterly adrift. If that's truly what you desire, then I'm all in. It was an unspoken truth. It was a command, one that stirred something deep within, igniting a fire that felt both thrilling and wrong. "Yeah, it's fine," I said, my voice quivering, yet beneath it all, a rush of exhilaration coursed through me, a feeling I despised, intensifying my turmoil, but I was powerless to resist it. The world whirled around me, and I felt myself plummeting, yet rather than reaching for safety, I found myself willingly embracing the abyss. James strolled into the kitchen, his lips brushing against my forehead, and in that fleeting moment, everything changed. Alone at last, I felt the weight of their anticipation pressing down on me. I stood there, my body rigid, yet my heart raced wildly within me. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of trepidation and exhilaration, a bittersweet acceptance washing over me. I felt utterly vulnerable, knowing that the moment I had both longed for and feared was finally upon us. James's hand brushed against mine one final time before he ascended to his room, leaving John's enigmatic smile hanging in the air, gentle yet inscrutable, as he leaned closer and whispered, "Ready?" I never intended to be, yet here I am, caught in the web of my own heart. The moment that followed rendered me speechless. My heart raced as we stepped into the living room, the air thick with unspoken tension. John's hand brushed against mine, a small but significant touch that sent an unexpected shiver through me. I sat on the couch, John beside me, his warmth too near, his aura a dangerous allure that drew me in, a tantalizing edge of fear and fascination, tempting me to dive into the depths I both feared and longed to uncover. A sudden chill swept through me, quickly replaced by an intense warmth, leaving me utterly adrift in a whirlwind of emotions. I was aware of the unfolding events, yet the outcome remained a mystery, as a shadowy part of me relentlessly crossed every line I attempted to draw. "So," John said, his voice a whisper, tender yet laced with tension, his gaze locked onto mine, as if daring me to step into the tangled web we were weaving. I loathed him for it, yet a part of me craved his patience, longing for the moment to unfold between us. James mentioned that your cooking is something special, and I can't help but feel intrigued. It felt like an irresistible pull, a call to surrender, and all my frustration began to consume me. It felt overwhelming, a web of deceit, yet I found myself compelled to act, his gaze heavy with anticipation, urging me forward. I was merely a pawn in their intricate dance. I do enjoy it, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper, my gaze fixed on my trembling hands. It was a performance, a delicate dance on the edge of desire. It was the only choice I had left, a desperate act born from longing. It allows me to escape the chaos around me. And that confession was genuine, yet I loathed it. He smiled, a subtle, tender curve gracing his lips, his gaze lingering on my face with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. We all crave that, he whispered, his voice barely above a breath, his thumb gliding in soft circles on my hand, and I despised how much I relished that contact, how it sent shivers across my skin. I had to put a stop to this, no matter how much it hurt. What do you do for distraction? He asked, his voice laced with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. It felt like a clear invitation, a pull I couldn't resist, drawing me into a dance where I was both willing and ensnared, his puppet in this delicate game. Oh, so many things, I murmured, my gaze locking onto his, searching those depths for any unspoken truths, mostly about books, and whenever I can, I find myself wanting to walk closer, I confessed. It was an intimate moment, raw and exposed, igniting a fire of shame that coursed through my veins. It felt like a moment suspended in time, his breath warm against her skin as he leaned in, a hint of longing in his eyes. I enjoy the gym, cooking, and exploring new experiences, he added, his tone laced with an enticing hint of danger. His gaze locked onto mine, and in that moment, the world around us faded away. For the first time, I caught a fleeting glimpse of what lay beneath, the hidden depths behind that kind smile. His tone danced on the edge of teasing, and I loathed how much I craved that lightness, that spark of flirtation I was desperately trying to deny. Yet my body betrayed me. Our conversation unfolded like a tangled web, each word laced with unspoken truths, a silent acknowledgement of the deeper connection we both felt, a connection that danced on the edge of what was right and what was not. It felt as if we were caught in a dark, intricate performance, one that twisted our hearts and blurred the lines of right and wrong. It was as if I were caught in a delicate dance, unable to break free from the intoxicating pull of the moment. I felt myself being pulled into his world, his presence compelling me to participate in something I never thought I would. It was as if I was fading into the shadows, helplessly witnessing the delicate strands that bound my heart unraveling, each severed thread pulling me further into a void of longing and despair. And I despised them, yet my body ignited with an undeniable thrill I couldn't shake off. What was driving me to this moment? Why wasn't my body rebelling against this? I questioned my feelings, a tangled mix of hurt and an unexpected thrill that coursed through me. But as the minutes slipped away, an undeniable tension began to weave itself between us, altering everything in the air. John's eyes held mine for a heartbeat longer than necessary, his presence inching nearer, his voice dripping with unspoken promises, and the air between us crackled with an undeniable longing, a tension that felt both thrilling and dangerous. His hand brushed against mine, his fingers lingering as they explored the softness of my skin. The atmosphere crackled with tension as he drew closer, his breath sending shivers down my spine, warm and tantalizing against my ear. It's incredible, isn't it, to share these words in such a way? He spoke softly, his words sending a shiver down my spine, igniting a blend of longing and a hint of guilt within me. Perhaps I answered. I remained close. I didn't refuse. I didn't resist. In that fleeting instant, I realized I was beginning to let go, drawn into a world I knew I shouldn't be part of. Afterward, John leaned in, his lips brushing against my ear, his breath sending shivers down my spine. Perhaps, he murmured, his fingers gently gliding along my neck. Yet, perhaps there are moments when releasing your grip is the wisest choice. His words lingered in the air, a seductive challenge that stirred something deep within me. The shadowy part of my heart ached to surrender to the allure, and it was terrifying to confront that truth within me. In that fleeting instant, as his lips hovered tantalizingly close to mine, as my body teetered on the edge of surrendering to the intoxicating pull of the night, I felt a gentle caress in my hair, a touch that was achingly familiar, almost too intimate, too consuming. It was James, standing there, his mere presence a quiet promise that I would never face this alone, and he had been waiting for this moment all along. "You know," James said, his voice a low, almost seductive whisper, laced with a hint of mockery. "Your tension was palpable earlier." His fingers brushed against my neck, igniting a thrill that both excited and terrified me. "But now," he added, I could sense his smile growing as he observed our expressions, his fingers gradually trailing down from my shoulders to my back. "Your calm demeanor captivates me, and witnessing you in this moment fills me with a warmth that suggests you've finally grasped something profound." His words wrapped around me like a bittersweet embrace, as if he were narrating a tale steeped in longing and secrecy, leaving me even more bewildered and vulnerable. At last, John looked at me with an intensity that made everything feel different, as if we had stepped into an unknown reality. My skin blazed with heat, my senses alive with electricity, yet I fought against it, desperate to pull away, to hold back, to resist the pull of something so dangerously intoxicating. Yet, an undeniable force was emerging, a mix of fear and exhilaration that consumed them both. That sensation coiled in my stomach, a mix of longing and trepidation, yet I craved it all the more. I closed my eyes, giving in to the intensity of the moment, embracing the tangled truth that enveloped me. My body, betraying my will, began to awaken to sensations I had never known before. He took my hand, leading me into an uncertain moment where emotions ran deep. His hands glided over my skin, each touch igniting a fire within me, a slow burn that felt both intoxicating and dangerously alluring, as if I were being drawn deeper into a captivating dream that dared to defy the boundaries of reality. I tried to pull away, desperate to halt the inevitable, but the moment had already slipped through my fingers. John approached me, and that initial contact was overwhelming, fierce, and intense, causing a tear to escape down my cheek, as if my body was torn between trepidation and longing. "That stings." It nearly slipped from my mouth. As it began, a wave of conflicting emotions surged within me, threatening to tear me apart, yet he pressed on, undeterred. And then, all light faded away. I found myself swept away in a tempest of feelings. I felt like I was losing control, unsure of the choices I was making. I felt like a vessel overflowing. The intensity and magnitude of it all was utterly consuming. I found myself submerged, overwhelmed by emotions as my body reacted in ways I had never dreamed possible. All those intense emotions overwhelming me. In that fleeting moment, I felt an overwhelming surge within me, a force that unraveled my carefully constructed defenses. It was intoxicating, yet so heavy, as if the weight of unspoken desires threatened to consume me whole. Yet, there was an undeniable thrill in the air. Amidst the swirling chaos, I caught sight of James, his gaze locked onto me, brimming with a thrilling intensity, a dark allure, as if I were a masterpiece rather than a mere mortal. A whirlwind of emotions surged within me, leaving my heart in a bittersweet turmoil. My desire for him was undeniable, yet it was intertwined with a deep-seated resentment. I felt an overwhelming urge to cry out, to shatter everything around me, and to put an end to it all. The thought sent a shiver through me, and as I caught James's gaze, I realized he was utterly adrift, ensnared by his own dreams. A wave of sympathy washed over me, heavy and bittersweet. It deepened the complexity of it all, as his longing transformed me into a being I could no longer tame. But then I surrendered to the allure, and all that remained were scattered memories, hazy feelings, a tangled blend of ecstasy and anguish, intertwining into a breathtakingly dangerous encounter. I found myself drawn into a realm that seemed foreign, molded by the longings of another, igniting a fire within me that I knew I shouldn't embrace. I found myself entangled in it, torn between desire and reluctance, questioning if I truly wished to be there, or if something deeper was pulling me in. Lost in a whirlwind of feelings, I found myself at a crossroads, unable to choose the path that beckoned me with both allure and danger. The boundary between giving in and holding back faded into obscurity. Yet, this was far from over. The tale had only just begun. Morning seeped in, dragging me away from the lingering shadows of the night, a bittersweet awakening. The air carried a lingering presence, a reminder of the emotions that had just unfolded. As I stirred on the couch, confusion enveloped me, my body protesting with every movement, while my mind grappled with the scattered memories of a night that had irrevocably shifted the course of my heart. The living room was shrouded in shadows, the soft glow of dawn struggling to break through the blinds, creating an atmosphere that felt hauntingly surreal, as if I were trapped in a dream I couldn't wake from. I gazed at my body, memories flooding back of his hands, the way they had caressed me. The intoxicating blend of desire and guilt sent shivers through me, leaving my heart racing and my body quaking. Then my gaze fell upon my phone resting on the coffee table, a silent reminder of the moments we shared, both thrilling and fraught with unspoken tension. The screen flickered to life, revealing a message from a mysterious sender, stirring a mix of excitement and trepidation in her heart. It was a message from John. "Hey Sophia, it's me, John. James passed along your number to me. I had to rush out this morning due to some pressing matters. Last night was something special, wasn't it? I hope you felt the same spark I did." The message felt so nonchalant, so devoid of emotion, it sent a chill coursing through me. He was oblivious to the unspoken tension that hung between them. He remained oblivious to the reality of what had transpired, and that message echoed like a haunting reminder of the choices I had been compelled to make. James had carefully crafted every moment of this unfolding tale. He had manipulated me, wielding power over my heart, and I felt tainted. My hands shook, a whirlwind of anger and disgust coursing through me. Yet beneath it all lingered an unsettling, inexplicable yearning that I couldn't quite grasp. I had to escape from everything surrounding me. With a weight in my chest, I rose, each step deliberate as I made my way to the kitchen, driven by a need to confront the inevitable. My heart was determined, and retreat was not an option. It was time to shatter the walls they had built around me and take back the power I had surrendered. There he was, James, lost in the moment, brewing coffee with an ease that belied the tension hanging in the air. It felt as though he existed in a realm untouched by the weight of reality, where every choice was free from the shadows of consequence. With a heavy heart, he spoke, his voice soft and tender, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling around us. I couldn't help but let out a dry, humorless laugh, a sound that barely reached him, lost in the weight of the moment. He turned towards me, his gaze probing my own, and for the first time, it was free from the weight of hidden yearnings. They were caught in a whirlwind of trepidation and longing, as if he sensed the inevitable heartbreak that awaited him. With a heavy heart, I responded, my voice devoid of warmth, as I poured myself a cup of coffee, the silence thick with unspoken feelings. "Did you find peace in your dreams?" I inquired. That question pierced through the facade, revealing the tangled web of our desires and the shadows of what we had turned into. He inhaled sharply, fingers wrapping around the warm coffee cup, a moment suspended between them, charged with unspoken feelings. Then a fleeting, barely there smile graced his lips. "Yes, I did. I hope you felt the same way, deep down. Your tension was palpable earlier." His words hung in the air, sealing their fate. He had witnessed nothing at all. He remained blissfully unaware of the lessons that lingered just out of reach. He remained trapped in his own dark and distorted world. I grasped my cup tightly and turned to leave, my heart heavy with unspoken words. It was over, just like that. But I had no idea that my world was on the brink of transformation. The house was eerily silent once more, leaving me to navigate the chaos of my thoughts, haunted by the echoes of what had just transpired. Every moment from yesterday lingered in my mind, a haunting blend of reality and desire, yet undeniably real. I had transformed, shedding the layers of who I once was, each day a new reflection, a new heartbeat echoing the change within me. And that was all there was to it. Everything felt different now. As I made my way back to my room, the atmosphere felt suffocating, a weight pressing down that made each breath a struggle. All I craved was to find something genuine, something that could pierce through the haze of uncertainty, that remained untouched by his dark cravings. In that moment, My gaze fell upon an old photo album filled with memories of us. I reached for it, my fingertips gliding over the worn paper, yearning to connect with a history that had slipped away, and then a new photo slipped from the confines of the pages. It was us in that moment when our paths first crossed. As I gazed at the faded photographs, a deep ache settled in my heart, and a single tear slipped down my cheek, each image stirring up a whirlwind of memories, love, and dreams that had slipped through my fingers. A piece of me longed for that to return, yearning for that tangled truth to vanish. As I gazed at those photographs of us, captured in moments of pure joy and affection, I couldn't help but feel the ache of how far we had drifted from that blissful innocence into this tangled web of emotions we now faced. All those tangled emotions, all the shadows, were now battling within me, and I was no longer attempting to hold them back. As I gazed at that familiar smile, the way his eyes sparkled, everything shifted within me. The anger and resentment lingered, intertwined with a haunting sadness, a yearning to mend what was broken, to resurrect the old James, to reclaim everything we had lost, and to embark on a journey filled with intention. All the strength I had was finally taking shape, guiding me toward a path that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. It wasn't about liberation. It was about finding a way to fit into the ordinary. I felt the pull to return, to confront him, even though deep down I understood the consequences of such a choice. As I made my way to the office room, each step felt laden with an unspoken weight, a tension that hung in the air. The anger began to wane, but in its place surged a complicated resolve to mend what was broken between us. Despite everything that had unfolded, I felt compelled to offer him one last opportunity to redeem himself. And it was for that I sought him out, that intricate and enigmatic soul I was on the brink of facing. James was there, lost in his thoughts, and when I stepped inside, his gaze met mine, a flicker of surprise dancing in his eyes. I felt the weight of a decision pressing down on me, torn between the fire of my fury and the haunting pull of a love that should have remained buried. Though my choice was flawed, it was still mine to make. "We have to discuss something important." I spoke, my voice barely above a whisper, laced with a hint of fragility, yet the intent remained unmistakable. He removed his glasses, his gaze locking onto mine, a swirl of fear and confusion dancing in his eyes, yet beneath it all, a flicker of hope lingered. He remained oblivious to the truth that lingered just out of reach. "What is it?" he asked, his voice laced with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine, as if he were daring her to reveal the secrets they both knew were better left unspoken. I found myself lost in the memories captured in those old photos of us. I took the first step, my voice barely above a whisper, my hand resting over my heart, the weight of those emotions pressing down on me, making it nearly impossible to find the words. I reached out, hoping my words could bridge the distance between us, and I found myself lost in the echoes of our past, reminiscing about who we once were. Before everything shifted into something unrecognizable, I added, "It meant everything to me, even if he couldn't see it. We can't go down this path once more, James. All that shadow, all those secrets, it can't continue any longer." I long for the days when everything felt right, when the world was simpler and our hearts were free to roam without fear. I long for us to return to what we once were, before this chaos began to entwine our souls. He paused, his voice barely above a whisper. "I only wanted us to find our happiness. I hope this might resonate with you as well. I believe John was someone I could rely on. Every heartbeat, every breath, it was all for you. I hope this would bring you closer to understanding me." Yet, I was utterly mistaken. He paused, a single tear escaping down his cheek. "I regret what happened. Let's promise ourselves this is the last time," I whispered, my heart racing. And I stepped out of the office, my heart racing with the weight of unspoken words lingering in the air. In that moment, I felt the weight lift, a bittersweet release that stirred something deep within me. I had dared to take the first step toward reclaiming a semblance of normalcy. Yet that normalcy had become something unrecognizable, tainted by the shadows of what once was. And then I found myself bound by an obligation. I knew I had to sever those ties once and for all, to finally end that intoxicating dance we shared. I clutched my phone, my fingers shaking with a swirl of feelings that felt achingly familiar, yet thrillingly fresh. With a shaking hand, I pressed send, my heart racing as I typed, "John, please don't reach out to me anymore." What transpired was deeply unsettling, and I yearned for it to be over. The words hung in the air, definitive yet hollow, as a flicker of something forbidden ignited within me, whispering that everything had shifted beneath the surface. In that fleeting instant, I realized this was merely the start of an intricate path ahead. Yet, despite all odds, a thrilling rush coursed through me, igniting a spark I knew I shouldn't feel. The unspoken longing clung to me, a haunting presence that I realized would follow me endlessly. And they had woven themselves into the very fabric of my being. I could only wish to keep them at bay, never allowing them to consume me. How would you react if you found yourself in this situation? Could you ever return to that place? I'm lost in my thoughts. Was it the choice that would change everything? I'd love to hear your thoughts.